Hello everyone, and I hope you're all doing very well. So today we're having our first really in-depth look at the function of ECM, electronic countermeasures jammers in DCS world. Now we've been flirting with it a little bit in the last few videos. We've been looking at the Vigan, the AGS 37 U22A jammer and seeing its effect on various systems, but that was a very small test, just looking at one plane, one jammer, one scenario against one particular type of SAM, so it was only a very niche look. So what we're doing now is a much bigger spectrum of tests that looks at different types of planes, different types of jammers, different types of situations against different types of SAMs. Now we're not going to be able to test everything. We can't test we can't test all 12 planes that have jammers against all I don't know, probably 30 different SAM systems we've got, because the combinations would just be ridiculous. So we've taken some averages, I guess you say, that cover the whole spectrum. And I've been playing about with this for a couple of hours now, and the results are interesting. They're just interesting. I don't really understand them, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through. This is going to take a long time because there's just lots of scenarios we need to test. Then we're going to put all the data into a big table as we do, and then discuss it and try and make some sort of sense of it. Before we do that, we need to explain the experiment. So first of all, the aircraft we're going to be looking at. In each case, we're going to be testing a A10 Charlie with a 184 pod on, and that's going to be jamming. We're going to be testing the F-15C with its internal jammer, the F-15C without any internal jammer, so that's our control aeroplane for the experiment. And the F-15C will represent the whole of FC3, we believe, based on previous experiments we've been doing. The AV-8B with its jammer, whatever it's called, that one there. And we've got the AGS 37 with its U22A. Let me just check that is what we've got. U22A. Those are the planes we're going to be testing, and that's a good spectrum of planes with, air-to-air fighters and ground attack fighters with all jammers that we've proven that work one way or another. We're not going to look at the F-14 or the F-18 because the jammers just either aren't working or aren't tested and proven yet. Each plane will be flying towards a selected SAM at exactly 20,000 feet ASL at 350 knots TAS or ground speed. They're all timed perfectly, and they're all spec'd out from their target at exactly the same mileage, 60 miles in this test, or 45 miles, 22.5 miles, and another mileage I've forgotten there, but they're all tested and everything's flying and perfectly uniform. So within 50 feet or so, everything should be perfectly testable today. The SAMs we're going to be fighting against will give us a nice spectrum today. We've got the Moskva here that has the S300F series on it. I believe it's the newer version of the S300, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's the newer version of the S300 than this one here, which is the ground variant, the S300 PS series that we have here. We've also got the SA11 suite here, and we've got here an SA6 suite here. So the SA6 suite is going to be indicative of what, late 50s, early 60s. The Buck is going to be mid 70s, something around there. And then the S300 series are going to be late 80s and kind of mid 90s as far as I'm aware. So that's that. That's all going to be tested. I've done some testing already, so I promise you some good results, which I think you'll enjoy. We've got the same series of planes here. We've got A10C jamming, F-15C jamming, F-15C non-jamming control, AV-8B Vigan here again. So the next thing I need to do is just set some constraints so that we can test the accuracy of this experiment. So the first thing is we just need to go through all the simple stuff I need to prove to you. First of all, are these guys jamming properly? I've asked them to jam. Are they going to jam? So let's quickly jump in. We'll be this aircraft here, and I'll just show you that they are indeed jamming as specified. Radar on. Zoom it out, and you can see already we've got we've got jammer, Vigan, AV-8B, control has no jammer, F-15C and the A10C there, so that's all good. The next thing is to say, because I was getting some weird results with the S300s, which was what I was testing first, I was thinking, well, why are these results so weird? I won't go through them in details now because I've sussed it all out now, but I thought, well, maybe because these SAMs here are interlacing with each other. So you can see that one there, regards to the A10C, this guy here can see him, but this guy here can also see him, and this guy, maybe even this guy here, might be able to see him at the last minute. So does that interlacing, interleaving, whatever you want to call it, affect the results? Well, I tested it by isolating this guy here and putting him up 100 miles up here, and I had exactly the same result. So the answer is there is no, in terms of burn through jammer effectiveness, there is no difference. There is no effect with this interlacing, this interleaving different SAM sites. So it's fine to have them close within, within 50 miles or whatever that is, like that. So that's tested and negated. The next is, because we are going to see some weird results. Well, is it only because we've got AI aircraft? Would it do this as a human? So what I did, because again I was getting weird results, I changed one of these Vigans to human, and I drove it as a human. It's quite difficult to keep perfectly on course and perfectly at speed, and I spent about half an hour doing that, and I can confirm the test results we get as human are exactly the same as the test results we've got with AI control planes, at least with Vigan that I tested 2 or 3 times, and I'm pretty sure that means all these aircraft are true compared to AI as compared to driving them as human, which is what we're looking at the end of the day, isn't it? So that's it. That's the experiment. We'll run through it in sequence. We'll run through these guys here against the SA-10, then we'll run through these guys here against the SA-11, then we'll run these two guys here against the S300 F series, and then we'll run these guys here against the S300 PS. The reason is just the results I've got from playing around in that order should give us kind of an order of effectiveness of these jammers. We'll run through each SAM 2 or 3 times, however long I can stand it, basically, to collect as much data as possible. And the data we're going to be collecting through our previous experimentation with these aircraft jammers, with what I was doing with the Viggen, there's 2 things we're interested in. There's 2 empirical measurable factors that we can do with this, and that is A, when is the burn through distance? The burn through distance, in case you're new to jammers, is at which point a aircraft jammer becomes ineffective enough that the hostile radar can see through that jammer and get what they call a radar track or a lock on you, which is going to enable them to fire the missile. That at that point is called a burn through. So we're going to find out what the burn through distances are in all of these different situations, and it's going to be lots of them. Then there's a second thing. Once the hostile radar has got burn through, it will obviously start firing its missile within 1 or 2 seconds, and that missile won't necessarily hit our plane. Now, if we don't have jammers on, as we'll see from the controlled aircraft, that missile will kill us every time. If we do have jammers on, even once we're within burn through, we do have additional effect of our jammers in that we can spoof the track of this hostile radar enough that that missile will actually miss our aeroplane by larger than the amount that is the programmed proximity views of that warhead. So this guy here could get within burn through range, this guy could fire a missile, and this jammer would still have enough effect to put the track off, left, right, up or down enough that the missile will miss by, say, 200 feet and the warhead won't go off. And that's what we're going to see. We're going to see a lot of that today. So that's the second thing we're gonna test. The first thing is burn through. The second thing is probability of miss or probability of hit, whichever way you want to work it out of the missile at what range. And it's going to get a bit complicated in the end, but that's what we're going to do, okay? And from that we can interpolate what the results, how effective these jammers are against different ground-based sources. Right, so I'm going to start the testing. Let's see how we get on. Okay, so here's our data charts that we're going to populate with the data. Here's our 5 airframes, A10C, F-15C, our Control F-15, our AV-8B and our AGS-37. We're going to have 5 attempts at each different type of SAM, and with each airframe against each type of SAM, we're going to look at the first missile that's fired, or the maximum range missile. We don't want to worry about the closer range missiles because it's going to be hard to keep them controlled and scientific. So the maximum range missile against every type of SAM and aircraft combination 5 times over, did it hit or did it miss? And that's going to give our, not perfectly accurate, but relatively accurate percentage of miss of the missile at max range. And then we're going to have a look at the burn through distances, which is basically we're just going to take as the maximum range that the missile fires at, the maximum range that each SAM type fires at. It's within a mile or so, it's accurate to the burn through range that we found. And again, here are the 5 airframes. Here is the burn through for that type of SAM. Here is the miss chance calculated by these tables here. So let's get going. SA6 first. So SA6 attempt 1. Find our guys. So the first thing we need to find out is what distance the SAMs fire at. Now, if our test works, then this guy should always get fired at first. He is the control. He has no ECM. And that's exactly what happens. So that's a good start. And we're going to get distance from him to him. of 18.28 miles. Now, one inaccuracy we've got, you can see that we're measuring slant angle here. I'm not sure how to measure plan angle here in TAC view, and I don't really think I'm going to worry about that. So for this test, we'll just use slant ranges. I think that's close enough. So we've got 18 miles. Okay, let's see who fires next, if I can zoom out enough. Wow, look how further it could fire. Okay, these two are simultaneous, and those two haven't fired at all. That's unexpected. So these two are, yep, they're simultaneous, and they're firing at their guys at 16.28 miles for the F-15C and the A-10C. Okay, and finally, our last two, AGS, and so that's a Harrier next. 16.33, and finally the Wigan, and that's coming out at 15.86. Okay, next is the hit percentage of first missile. So Control has not dodged his, F-15 has not dodged his, A-10C has dodged his, AV-8B has dodged his. So the survivors were the A-10C and the AV-8B. Okay, that's all we can get from that. Let's go to the next one. Okay, attempt 2. The first thing is we're just going to make sure that the burn through distances are the same. And that means we can just use one burn through distance for everything. 18.28, yeah. And let's just have a check at a Harrier and a Vigan. So Vigan is where is it? 15, yeah. And the Harry is just over 16. Right. So that's to save us a bit of work. What we can say that with each type of SAM, the burn through is going to be constant each time, so we don't have to take any more burn through tests, which is good for this SAM. So we're just going to do dodges now, so off they go. Control no, F-15 yes, A-10C yes, AV-8B yes, and Biggin yes. Everything apart from the Control survived. Okay, straight into our next one. Control's dead, A-10C, and they all survived again. Lovely. Test 4, if we go. Oh, the A-10's gone down this time. How unfortunate. Oh, that's annoying, isn't it? Let's see if he went down last time. Did we notice that? Yeah, he's been going down every time. Well, testing's all done now, and I can't be bothered to go and do that again. So I think we're just going to keep him the same. He's still going at the same speed, so he's just at the same altitude. I don't think it's really going to affect anything. What we're testing here is whether the missile is going to dodge or not. And I don't see any real advantage that being at 8,000 instead of 20,000 is going to really help. So I think we'll continue to study. We should see if it makes any major difference in the S300s. Right, what are we on now? Number 3. So this is an old one. So number 4. Control is dead. And A-10C and F-15 survived. 5th and last one for the SA-6. Control is dead. Everyone survived apart from the AV-8B. Okay, SA-11. Papa. Let's get those ranges again. SA-11 is 18.77, which is very similar to the SA-6. It's almost identical. Half a mile longer than the SA-6. Make of that what you will. Okay, next is going to be whom. Oh, they're all going at the same time. Oh, it's reversed the other way around. Look, this time it's these two going first. That they are basically identical, so that's 14.3 for those two. And for these boys, pretty much identical again. I mean, you know, within a tenth of a mile or so, I think that's near enough to call. 14.8, 14.25, so we'll split the difference there, 14.1. Okay, let's do the misses. Boom, they're all dead. Now I'm going to save us going through this another 4 times. Every time I tried, they all got hit. No one could dodge the SA-11 at max range with the jammer. So I'm going to save you looking at any more of them. So whatever reason that is, SA-11 can't be jammed at long range. Don't know why. So go figure. Now I am going to just quickly look at another one just to make sure the burn through ranges are about the same. Calls, we want to do the best data we can. Yeah, I think it's going to be the same. You can see the these guys are off again, slightly first. Yep, exactly the same. 14.3, and these guys were about 14.1. I've got them at, so 14.1 couldn't be any better. Right, so that's that done. Let me go and fill that data in quickly. Right, the first of the big boys, the SA-10 Foxtrot Naval Grumble. Let's go and have a look. The distances are getting a little bigger now. Whoops. Right, that's going to be control again. Control is 31.69 miles. So that's just because there's no jamming on control. That is just a ballistic max at this particular speed and altitude, which sounds about right. So that is 31.7. Next is going to be... Oh, they're all the same. Look, they're all going to be the same. They're all the same. Okay, and that is 25.22. So this one is jammed, can be jammed in terms of distance, burn through, but they're all the same. So what we're finding here is exactly the same type of effect we saw in the air-to-air jamming, unsurprisingly, in that it has a lot to do with these guys' jammer in combination with these guys' jammer. And it's a bit out of my realm to really understand why. So I'm gonna, after we've got the results together, we'll have a talk about it. And I think you guys are going to need to explain to me what it's all about, but we'll see. So let me just write this down. Okay, hit percentages. Control is obviously going to die, so I don't really need to bother about him. Right, so there's twin missiles. It's going to be a little bit more difficult because they're both fired at long range. And I don't think there's any kind of effect which we should know about. I think we can count both of these missiles to get some extra data. So, F-15 is Dodge 1. No, scratch it. I think we're going to pollute the data. I think we better just do the outer missile. So, Dodge for F-15. This guy, A-10C, has been hit. See the A-10C is staying at altitude now. What do we got down here? The AJS is Dodge. And Harrier is disappeared. But which one hit him? Is hit. Right, so F-15 and AGS dodged that. Okay, round 2. Right, so just check the distances are going to be the same. Sure they will be. Yeah, they're all going at the same time again. And it's all going to be 25.2, whatever it was. Yep, bang on. Okay, let's go through. A-10C hit. F-15 hit. Control hit, obviously. AVB hit. Vigan dodge. We got a dodge on the Vigan. Ba ba ba. And I did some earlier tests of this a few days ago with Vigan, just a Vigan on a ship on its own. And I did get a good dodge rate, so yep, looking good. SA-10F attempt 3. Hit. Oh, the A-10C is no good at this, look. I wonder if there's something we should know about that, like it just can't dodge naval stuff or something. Oh, what's happened? Am I a bit confused here? What's happening? Oh, no, scratch it. I'm just getting confused. F-15 dodge 2. Look at that. Can't use that result. That's not admissible in court, but it did dodge. Did dodge. A-10 didn't dodge, did it? No. So let's put that down. This jammer's pretty good in this plane. Harrier, you going to dodge anything? Yes, you are. And Wigan. So Harrier dodges. Okay, next. Attempt 4. Come on, A-10, you haven't dodged yet. It's been hit every time, and I doubt that's coincidence. I bet there's something programmed into the A-10C radar that's just not meant for naval, which would make sense historically, wouldn't it? We got hit. He survived it, but he did get hit. AV-8B got hit. And the Vigan, everyone got hit. Wipe out. And attempt 5. Come on, A10, dodge sight. Yay, dodged. A10 dodge. F15. Missed. Hit. AV-8B dodged. So AV-8B was the only other one to dodge on attempt 5. Right, that's that done. Next we're going to go on to the SA-10 Papa Sierra. Okay, ground grumbles, Papa Sierra. Distances. We're going to get a diving A10C, which might mess these results. Oh no, it's the same mission, look, but he just refuses to dive, so it's DCS being DCS, I'm afraid. Right, oh look at that. The control, look, control is getting fired at the same time as the A10C. The A10C has having no jamming effect on the SA-10. Curious, hey? It's definitely jamming. We've done the jam tests. So, oh no, they're all firing. Look, they're all firing. No, well, it is what it is. No point trying to cover it up. I'd say. So we've got control as 31.7, exactly the same as the F series. And they are the same missile, so interesting. Burn through control is 31.7. Beautiful. Oh, I love it when the data is beautiful, and that is some beautiful data we're getting today. This guy ever so slightly behind, 30.59. Next. I think the next 3 go at the same time. So very little burn through effect on these. I think we can put them the same. We'll average that on the Harrier. 30.34. Okay. So all we've got to do is the hits and misses now. So off we go. Hit. Who dodged? A10C. And Harrier dodged first trial. That proves that the jammer is working, of course, because it wouldn't be able to dodge it otherwise. So A10C, Harrier. F15 only. So number 2, F15 only. Next. All dead. Next. Oh, A10, well done. There's 2 dodged for you. And the final one you'll be extremely happy to hear. I think he... No, that's a miss. AGS and F15. ADS. And F15. Right, let's complete the data. Mischance is 40%. 15, 40%. 0, 20% and 20%. Lovely. Well, if you're excited by data sets like me, then this is your lucky day. Okay, so let's have a study of this data. So inaccuracies, things to think about are we were taking slant range instead of plan range. So when comparing it with other trials, we just need to have a little think about that. It's probably only 1 or 2 miles max difference anyway. And the F on the first 2 SAMs, the A10C decided to go down to Angels 8 instead of Angels 20. Otherwise, everything was the same, and I don't think that's actually going to make any difference in our results anyway, so pretty sure that can be negated, is what we'll probably see in the data. Other than that, the only thing to mention is that we're only taking into account the first missile. I'm definitely sure that's the way we should be doing this. So we're only looking at max range missiles fired, not subsequent missiles fired. What I can say from experience is that the closer you get to the SAM, the less effect the jammer will have. So we get all the way down to 5 miles from an SA6, then it's almost 0 chance of having it dodged, or the to miss chance is going to go down. Whether that goes down quadratically or linearly, logarithmically, absolutely no idea. I think that's beyond the scope of what I care about, to be honest. So we're not going to worry too much about that. Also, this only takes into account that our aircraft is going to fly straight and level. In reality, you would obviously be doing dodging, maybe evading different types of flying we'll look at in a different video. It's definitely not something we can put into this, because it becomes very difficult to keep things scientific if an aircraft is going to be moving left or right or whatever, to keep that the same and repeatable on every single test. So maybe that's something we'll look at separately. So let's look at the data. SA6. So with control, no ECM, it was firing on us at 18 miles. And with jammers on, all of them had around 16 miles. The AGS had slightly increased, or should we say decreased, burn through distance. And it meant there was about 2 miles between control and the jamming aircraft. Now the miss percentage was 100% for the A10C. Nothing hit the A10C. 80% for the F-15C. AV-8B 60%, AGS 37 60%. Now, obviously these aren't hugely accurate because we only have a sample size of 5, because that's all I can be bothered to do, but it gives you a decent idea and a rough idea of the chance of surviving that missile without evasive maneuvers. I should say, in case I forgot to mention earlier, no one is chaffing. Everyone has set chaff to turn off. Let's keep things as predictable as possible. SA11, we had a bigger effect on the burn through, so 18.7, so 19 miles for control, so it's a slightly longer range SAM than the SA6, ignoring jammers. With the jammers on, these guys all the way down to 14, just above 14 miles, so it has a 4-5 mile effect in terms of burn through between a maximum launchable range, so that's quite a big result in that case. And I wonder why it's a completely different result to this here. What it's telling us is that these SAMs are affected by ECMs in very different ways. So that's good programming, we think. There's a good sign from ED in that they've not just kind of copied and pasted each SAM's effect by the ECM. Each SAM tolerates ECM differently by the looks of things, and different amounts. I should say at this point, in real life, different aeroplanes here would have a completely different effect on certain SAM types. And that can't be mirrored in DCS because, so for instance, in real life, a F-15 that would historically have been fighting against at least these guys here would be programmed specifically to, have its jammer affect these particular types of SAMs here, but not other ones that it wouldn't fight against, like this one here, and maybe, American SAM types, Hawks, stuff like that. But obviously we can't simulate that in DCS, because in DCS the time-based barriers and the coalition-based barriers are turned up on their heads, and an F-15 can fight against any type of SAM, a NATO SAM, French SAM, a Russian SAM. So that type of bias has to be eliminated in DCS for those reasons. And the miss chance, it has no effect on the missile guidance of the SA-11. Now, I don't know why that is. I'd like you guys to tell me why that is. Is it because the SA-11, as well as having radar-guided missiles, are also electro-optically guided as well? That's something I know about because I've been shot. I was shot in our last coffee campaign mission by an SA-11 electrico-optically without a radar warning. So that's something to bear in mind. So maybe although it's affected the radar track, it's not managed to affect this additional method of guiding. Is that realistic as well? No idea. We'll see what you lot think. Next, we've got the SA-10F and the SA-10PS. So the SA-10F, the Naval Grumble, we had 31 miles, so maximum ballistic firing range under control on the control aircraft, and all of the jammers had the same burn through at 25.2 miles. Which is interesting. It's interesting how some SAMs are slightly differently affected by different aircraft, and some SAMs are affected the same by different aircraft. So, again, let me know what you'll think about that. It's a bit beyond me, to be honest. Control obviously had 0 to all of these. He got hit all the time. A10C 20% miss rate, F-15C 40%, AV-8B 20%, and the Vigan 60%. And I agree that is probably fairly accurate. Now, this is the second time I've done a series of tests for the AJ37, and the AJ37, I dodged 3 out of 4 last time, so a 75% chance. So in the scope of what we're doing here, that's actually pretty accurate data. So I'm happy that these are, not hugely accurate, but fairly accurate. So it looks like the Vigan is really good at defending against naval grumbles, although the percentage chance is obviously a lot less than we've got here on the ground-based SA-6. Finally, the Grumble to ground Grumble, the PS series, distance exactly the same on the control aircraft, which is what you'd expect with the same missile. completely different burn through, so almost no effect or reduction for the burn through on the aircraft, and it has slightly different effect on the A10C as the others with the ground Grumble. In terms of dodge chances, we've got A10C and F-15 had the best at 40%, and AV-8B, AGS 37 down to 20%, so not having much effect on dodging the ground Grumble. And that's about it. So I've given you guys the data. If you want to start talking about it now, seeing what your thoughts are on review of that. On the whole, from me, my summary is I'm pretty impressed. Again, it's a bit weird, this data set here, but everything seems to be working logically and decently there. So I'm pretty happy about that. Right, that's all I wanted to show on this. I hope you enjoyed that. See you later.